Hey guys, welcome to this week of the podcast, the Bison Hour. This week on the mic, we have Jimmy Owens. Jimmy owns a media production company here in Oklahoma City called DesignTunnel. I've known Jimmy for a number of years. We actually used to work across the hall together when I was in a little 8x10 office, and Jimmy would come over all the time and tell me I was talking too loud because they were filming a TV commercial or something like that in your studio. Yeah. No, you were super nice. You were super nice about it. But I love, your story, and I love interviewing business owners to kind of just teach everybody, what normal people have to go through in order to find their level of success in life. And you were a perfect candidate for the podcast. I think anybody that's gone through a lot in life to get through struggles to get to where they are, are here for a reason.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, how you grew up. And
it's a long story. I don't know if we have enough time.
We got plenty of time, dude. We're here for you. So were you born in Oklahoma?
Born in Oklahoma from thanks Alexis. Born in Oklahoma from a small town called Minco. Mm-hmm. Graduated with 27 people, my graduating class.
Where is Minco?
West Oklahoma.
So you were in like the desert, like just
no desert. It's Cowtown, man. It's farm. So,
but it's just plains, right? It's flat.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, like where El Reno,
that area.
So El Reno, then Union City's to the south, and then Minco's next. Or if you're farther east, if you go Tuttle, you know where Tuttle is? Tuttle?
I do know where Tuttle is.
Tuttle is just the town east of Minco.
Minco's a small town, right?
Oh, yeah. It was one time I looked up the population, it was like 1,300. So everybody knows each other. You're friends with upperclassmen and lowerclassmen.
Mm-hmm. Just everybody goes to the same high school. And did you go?
No, there's an elementary, a middle school, and a high school.
So literally
they are separate.
The kindergartners are like cool with the seniors in high school. It's like
no. Yeah. I mean, so my sister she's like 3 and 4 years younger than I am.
Sure.
Some of her classmates to this day will be like, "Oh, hey!" Like if we see them, they may know me, but like I may not know them, only because like I was probably looking at the other upperclassmen, or you know what I mean.
It's such a small town; people know each other through association.
Yeah, or like parents have went there. Like parents went there with those kids' parents back in high school. Mm-hmm. Like they all grew up together.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you grew up in Minco. What was life like growing up?
The best I can explain it is, for me, it's like any good country song. Those country songs of hitting dirt roads and doing those wild things. Like that's what my life was like. I mean, all the good songs, all the bad songs, except I did it in Jinko jeans and I didn't own a tractor.
There you go. So you were a wannabe cowboy.
No, not even close. No, I wasn't a cowboy. Didn't grow up on a farm. None of that. It was just around us.
You were just in the city of Minco, or the small town of Minco.
My mom did. She's the nicest lady you ever meet in your life.
Yeah.
So nice that it'll make you upset. She's so nice. You're like, quit being so nice. She's just awesome. And then my dad's always been in oil and gas.
Okay. So
like odd jobs and stuff like that when I was growing up. I chopped wood, for example.
Sure.
I hauled hay. Not very much, but I hauled 2 or 3, maybe 5 different times hay.
Sure.
And I realized I didn't want to do that anymore. It was really, really tough.
You didn't like the manual labor aspect of it?
No. I mean, I like being physical and lifting weights and tackling people in football. But other than that, it's nothing I want to do my whole life. I figured out really quick.
Mm. What kind of lifestyle did you guys live growing up? Your dad being oil and gas, pretty poor, pretty.
No, I mean just middle.
Yeah, middle class.
Yeah, cool. Nothing too crazy.
And then you grew up obviously doing some manual labor work and hauling some hay and doing everything,
sure.
And that kind of shifted your mind and your trajectory of what you wanted to do in life.
Yeah, the job that broke me, I bought my first car. I had to work for my car. Mm-hmm. And I bought my first car with summer money that I earned. Mm-hmm. And the job was at Brahms Dairy Farm. So Tuttle, like I said earlier, and Minco, between there is Brahms Dairy Farm. And Brahms Dairy Farm is the first place that I actually had employment at.
Oh, nice.
You know, the other place was like, you know, mowing yards, like I said, splitting wood and stuff like that. And I saved up enough money that summer. I was in the maternity barn there in the summer at Brahms Dairy Farm. Never been around cows. Like, even though, like I said, we weren't a farming family.
Sure.
It was just all around us, or like you knew somebody. There's like, oh, so-and-so owns the milk, you know, farm or whatever it is. And that summer broke me, man. I was like, because whatever I do it, and I finish what I start, you know?
Right.
And I got to work on I think it's a 200cc I think it's a 300cc Honda, driving illegally from my house to Brahms at like 14 and a half or 15, whatever it is. And that's how I got to work to then buy my car. But that summer, I remember going home after work. And
what time did you have to wake up for that job every morning?
I don't even remember.
Was it early?
I'm an early bird anyway, so I probably just naturally got up anyway. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I grew up not even using an alarm. I would just get up. Like, what time am I supposed to get up? I would just get up. It was really weird.
A really great internal clock.
Used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wake up, drive the motorcycle or ride the motorcycle to work, and then work all day. What job specifically did you do for them?
So maternity barn.
What is it? So just birthing cows, birthing dairy cows?
So what happens there is it's all of the pregnant cows. So they are preg checking a cow.
Gotcha. That's gross. My father-in-law does that. It's
I
really
usually
gross.
worked on the head of the cow.
Yeah.
And that was where I learned to change fly tags, put in new numbers, stuff like that, work over the ears.
They'd catch the chutes, you'd retag the cows. Everything.
Yeah, read the numbers, make sure this one's still alive, and, you know, check things off and they told me to.
Give them their shots, and then...
I didn't do the shots. I just had the head.
Okay.
So learn how to use all those tools on their ears and then how not to hurt them with them eventually.
Gotcha.
Because they go, this is what you do. And you end up with a busted finger because the cow went like that, and then you're mad. And I mean, I even ripped a cow's ear one time, you know, because you clamped it, and then they go, and you're like, oh no, and they're like, get it on the other one. You're like, oh God, this is horrible.
Yeah, I'm well versed in how. It's funny how cows are, man, but catching them in the chute like that, some go crazy and some are just like, tag my ear.
The guy in the back with the long sleeve makes the most money.
Well, what I didn't realize, exactly. What I didn't realize when I worked cows for the first time is that the ear tag is like that thick. It's like a 1/4 inch thick going right through their ear. Yeah. And they just take it like, boom.
So that, you know, one day you would work over the cows and they would preg check all these cows. And then other days, I think we milked, it's been a while, we milked the cows to then feed the calves.
Sure.
And at the beginning of the summer, you're like, oh, you know, a calf gets out in the pen. They're all in pens. You're teaching them how to eat and, like, you know, teach them how to drink milk, and you got to water them the whole deal. But we had to
bottle feed them?
Oh, yeah.
So you guys have the cow has the calf.
Yeah.
And then you basically take the milk from the cow.
Yep.
And
every day they get milked.
Give a small portion of that to the calf to sustain its life, or where
that sounds so beautiful. It's not.
No.
Yeah, it's not that pretty. It's they birth the calf is, you know, taken away, and I don't remember. I think they may stay with them for a while, but yeah, it's, you don't like give that calf a bottle. Is that what you're saying? No. So like the way, I mean, I've seen it work growing up on an Angus ranch, which is totally different than dairy cows. It's a milk farm.
I don't know how you go from dairy cow giving birth. Do you take all of the milk that mom's producing from the calf, or?
Not that specific one. She birthed, take the cow, and the calves are drinking all the other mom's milk. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, and then once the calves are weaned, then they just keep using the mother cows for production of milk?
I'm not sure.
There you go.
I had no clue.
Okay.
We just ran the mama cows through, got the milk, and we fed all the calves.
Okay. So you did that working at Brahms. Was that just one summer, or did you do that job multiple years?
No. So one summer, like I was saying earlier, I remember going home. It'd be like Friday. You know, it was summer. Friday, all my friends were out. Like, hey, we're going out. My parents and everyone's gone. And I would just go home and just sit and stare at a wall. You know, I was just exhausted. And because you don't get the best jobs out there.
Right.
your summer help.
Yeah, 1,300 people, there's probably not much.
Yeah, and so you get all the nasty weed-eating jobs and all the fun stuff. So I was like, I can't do this forever. Like, I don't know how these guys do this. Well, they're not, because they don't have the crappiest jobs, but it taught me a lesson. I was like, I'm never doing this again.
You don't want to work with cows. I don't want to do labor jobs. I don't want to do
calves
anything.
are cute now. They weren't back then. I was like, you look at a calf and you're like, oh, you know.
Yeah. So at that point in time, at your young age, like, what did you decide to do with your life? Because obviously you had a plan, or was there no plan?
Well, so that job made me, I said, to myself, I was like, I'm going to college. That was it. I had chopped wood for this guy on the side and then did this, and I was like, I'm going to college.
Why did you want to go to college? What was the motivation behind that?
I think throughout school, you have like speakers come to the auditoriums, and you have those speakers, they come through. And I remember one of them, it was this Hispanic lady came through and was like, I'm 1 in a million. And I was like, her story was really intriguing. And she was like, I'm Hispanic, I'm female, I'm from Mexico, and I have a college degree. And I was like, I can do it too. So that's kind of what got me. Yeah.
And so you graduated high school in Minco.
Yeah, in 98.
And then when did you enroll in school?
Right after that, I was going.
Okay.
Yep.
And you went to
UCO,
so in North Oklahoma City. And then what did you major in, or what was the game plan when you went?
I was going to go marketing route.
Okay. I
always liked ideas.
Okay.
I always was pretty decent at coming up with like one-liners. And I remember like all the kids would be saying them, right? Yeah. They would be saying, or you come up with a funny name, and then they would be saying it. And I was like, man, I can do that for businesses.
Yeah.
So it was that simple for me.
Just taglines, one-liners.
I love marketing. And like, I just like how it was always just such a, it's a gimmick. It's just so fake.
Yeah.
But whatever you're doing, it has to be memorable,
Yeah.
And
the catchy tune on the radio that gets stuck in your head.
Yeah.
What's the one? Like Aaron's Furniture or O'Reilly's.
Yeah.
Everybody has the O'Reilly song stuck in their head 24/7. But it's stupid. But when I think about where am I going to go get my auto parts?
You know where you're going.
O'Reilly's.
I know where you're going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you got interested in that and got into marketing. And then what changed throughout school?
So marketing switched to advertising because, of course, marketing took a lot of math. My math ACT score wasn't that great.
Sure.
So in advertising, I could accomplish the same creative need.
Okay. And then did you switch to advertising at UCO?
So I went one semester at UCO because my ACT score was super amazing.
What was your ACT?
Not really. It was like 18, so you didn't have to, I think it was 18, so you didn't have to retake the ACT score. Yeah. I got an 18. It was an 18 to get into UCO. I think it was like 22 or something at the time to get into OU. Yeah. And the only way I get into OU is that I transferred. So went there for a year, transferred, or I would have never went.
Okay, so you're a Sooner.
Yeah.
Sooner born, Sooner bred.
So went to advertising BA.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then tell me about your experience in college. Tell me about, how that shaped, you wanting to get into what you do.
Well, so I didn't join a fraternity.
Okay.
I think after I graduated.
What fraternity was that?
No, I did not get into one. Didn't? No, I didn't get into one. After I graduated, I regretted it.
Okay.
Only because I realized that there's a lot of networking that I could have been doing. And then the reason I didn't get into one is because I don't really like getting into cliquish settings like that. Like it just turns into political. I didn't come from a lot of money. It cost, first of all. And then I already knew how to party.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I know how to party and I don't need you guys, And so I associated fraternities with partying. Partying, I didn't need to pay to party.
Yeah.
But I regret it for the relationships that I could have built.
That's probably one of my biggest regrets about going to OU and getting a degree is the fact that I didn't join a fraternity. For me, I got married at 20 and then we had our first kid at 21.
Yeah.
And so a Mormon dad of like 2 wanting to join a fraternity is almost laughable.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
I regret it because I know a bunch of my friends have lifelong connections that they have made, and I've watched people start businesses with other people because the one kid in their fraternities, you know, dialed, and just through association, I've seen a lot of people find success. So I would almost advise people, if you're going to go to college, join a fraternity or a sorority.
Yeah, get into a good one.
Yeah.
Get into one that matches with your personality and stuff. My personality then was party. So I was like, I didn't need this, you know?
Yeah.
And I was working full time. I worked full time through college, waiting tables and bartending, developed a great cocaine habit. So, yeah.
Yeah, solid strategy.
Yeah, it was great.
So did you go to college for 4 years?
The 5 year.
The 5 year.
5 year.
Okay. So just your bachelor's degree then? Okay. So
Yep.
you're at UCO, and then basically all those credits tossed out the window to then go to OU for 4, or did you just pace yourself a little bit more?
I don't even remember.
Okay.
And that doesn't even, that's kind of how I function.
Sure.
I don't know.
Sure.
I did it. Like when I do something, I do it. And I already, I don't know. It's been too long. I'm 42 today.
Okay. Cool. So dude, like, I don't know much about you other than knowing like the media production with DesignTunnel that you do now.
Yeah.
What life events took you from, I guess, studying advertising in college and stuff like that? Did you get into advertising right out of school?
What do you mean? Like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. Like after I graduated college, when you said school, I thought high school. I was like, what do you mean?
When you graduated college, did you go immediately into advertising?
No.
Okay. What happened?
I was a print designer out of college.
Okay. How did you land that job?
My capstone was for Sonic Drive-In. So we actually got to present to Sonic Corp.
Okay.
And we did research and everything for that. And I did all the graphic design for that campaign.
Really?
Yeah. So I fell in love with the graphic design programs, and it allowed me to come up with the one-liners that then was to pitch the idea in the campaign.
Did you have anything that stuck and went through all the way?
You know, salads.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it was before salads were on the menu at Sonic. I can't say that we helped them do that,
Make
but
that decision.
We did.
You pitched the idea to them, and it just kind of maybe put the thought in their head, and then eventually.
Well, I mean, I don't want to take it that far,
Yeah.
But I will say that's probably why the place that hired me because I had Sonic stuff in my portfolio, because Sonic was a big client of theirs.
Gotcha.
And so I was a print designer for 3 years at this place called Automatic. They help design and develop the quick service menu. So like drive-in housing, the stall, the speaker, the intercom system, how you place an order to a quick service restaurant.
Wow.
That's what they made there. So I designed a ton of quick service restaurant menus.
That's awesome. Hey, I mean, it's useful. What I think is interesting is when you talk, it has to come from somewhere. There's a business for everything.
Yeah.
So how long did you do that for?
3 years. 3 years. And then I quit to go work at a place. And then I quit that place the same day I started and went back and asked for my job back. So I ate some humble pie is what I'm trying to tell you.
Why did you quit?
I think with any employee, you know, like you're trying to figure out how much money can I make? You know, I've been here so long. I want a raise. I think that's probably in every employee's mind.
Sure.
And like, where am I going? Right. Yeah. And so I'd been there long enough that I was like, I think I can go make some more money somewhere else. And then, so I was going to, and I got a job doing it. It just so happens that when I went to that, you're going to love this. When I went to this place, my manager was rather large.
Big boy.
Big girl.
Big girl.
And,
wow.
So
okay.
It's like,
there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm probably like 8 feet away from her, and she's just like this. She just gets me on a project, and she's like, she's sleeping and snoring. And then
your first day on the job?
First day on the job. And I was like, oh no, this isn't a good sign. And then they asked me to do something. They're like, hey, we need this brochure made. And I was like, yes, I want to do brochures. And it was a book of products, like not creative marketing.
A catalog, basically.
A catalog, yeah.
You're gonna snap a photo of a product, throw it in there with the price.
With all the nasty
price.
specs, right? Which is fine. I just didn't, that's not what a brochure was in our interview. And so I just went to HR and said, hey, do we need to work on this? This isn't a brochure. And they're like, well, that's what we call a brochure. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be like, I quit. So I was like, she's sleeping and this isn't a brochure. And then I just humbly went back and asked for my job back.
They gave it to you?
I mean, because what else would you do, right? Yeah, they did.
I guess, yeah.
They did.
If I always find it's hard to hire help. And if I had a guy quit and leave to go chase, we had a guy like this in my tow truck business. He quit to leave to go do his own thing. And he realized really quick that it's not as easy as he thought it was, or the situation he put himself into wasn't as great as he thought it was. And he came back and he ate a slice of humble pie, and he's, one of my best, workers. And we've promoted him by now and everything like that. And sometimes life deals you that hand and you play it out, and it just happens. Yep. So you went back to work for
Automatic. Left later. Did like animation work. Helped the company create about 300 environmental health and safety training classes. And then
and when you did that, was that writing the script, filming, shooting?
So scripts were written.
Okay.
And then our teams, we created the art and the courses.
Okay.
So we create the art and the courses for every bit of that, like animated, illustrated, shown pictures, whatever it was. It was pretty cool because we had creative freedom to create whatever we want there. It allowed us to make it as entertaining as we could.
Yeah, you guys are taking an idea and creating an artistic rendition of it to pitch to people and to sell it.
Yeah.
So after you got done working there, I
went out on my own. I went out on my own, and then I officed. My wife was working full-time corporate HR.
Sure.
And so we were like, we're making enough money. Yeah, you go do that. And I think that's where so I was at this pretty cush job, creating the safety training that was like, just make us some cool stuff. And there really wasn't, like, sometimes there was deadlines on stuff and sometimes there weren't. And like, as long as it was cool, it was okay.
Just like, super relaxed, laid back.
Yeah, super relaxed, great. Yeah. But then whenever I quit and I was like, I'm going to do graphic design, and office out of my house for about a year and a half. I kept officing out of your house. It can be hard for a person like myself.
Especially if you have kids.
So, well, no kids yet, but I kept myself busy with drinking vodka, Yeah. And so after you're hiding the vodka bottles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you get through that, and then you work on yourself, and then you have a kid. Yeah. So we worked through that, my wife and I, and I went in office with a guy that I used to work with at the first job at Automatic. We officed together about 4 years. And then actually, I guess longer than that, we used to office here too.
Okay.
We were going to do a partnership. He had a client that came to the table. And we're like, man, it would be really cool to do all these other things too for you, but you don't have a budget. Hey, why don't we go ahead and do all these things together, the three of us? And then, so we did like physician work and did like a bunch of physician bios. It all started with, the project was a physician directory, right? The physician directory. And then I was like, oh man, what if all these physicians had bios? What if they all had, you're searching and you're looking for one and they all had bios there on a website.
So you were officing out of here.
Yeah. So the physician directory, and then we're like, oh, this could be online. And then it just keeps developing, you got 3 minds and 3, I would say, entrepreneurs that we can do almost anything together. A really great team. But what happens out of that is, you lose a friendship and then you don't do a partnership. I know that's definitely my fault. And then anyway, so that's my fault. And then during that time, I'm working on this company and this brand that's technically not ours and neglecting our main company.
Yeah.
Right. Because we're all using our own companies and subcontracting to each other, to our companies. And so I just learned a really hard lesson that work on your own company, right? Even like no matter how good something can be, or like we did some solid work and we did a lot of money for like 3 or 4 years, you know.
It was a good business.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah.
So that's just like a hard lesson. You know, you lose a friendship and you do that as well. But I like to do things the hard way. So like when things get too boring for me, I like to go ahead and, you know, inject a little.
Spice it up.
Yeah, like a little, you know, let's make this harder. Let's take a drink. Let's make this harder. Let's do a drug. Now it's more of a challenge. Right.
I mean, the podcast is the Bison Hour. And I think a lot of times it's something that's not talked about is people struggle with drugs and addiction. You know, I had a podcast the other day where the guy said, you know, he likes to hire people that are the right people he can trust, people that he can depend on to show up to work and stuff like that. And I've found that owning business is the best thing in the world if you're a disciplined person. You will have all the freedom owning your own business that you want to if you're disciplined. Yeah. And I think one of the downsides to that is if you're not disciplined, you occupy your time with other things. Sure. And for a lot of people, it's drugs and alcohol. Sure. Which, you know, that was your struggle. That was that was what you had to go through.
Yeah, that's been my main struggle. I mean, gratefully, you know, it all sounds like easy to talk about now. And I think that's what's hard to that's why it's hard to share, because it's not as easy as it sounds. Yeah. You know, getting to where we're at today wasn't easy. Yeah. And it really wasn't easy for like my family. Right. Sure. So stuff like that, like no one gets to see, and that part of the story gets missed. You just get to hear like, oh man, that sucked. Sure. Wow, good job. You know, it's like, that's not even close to what it's like, or in the relationships and just the emotions and the lives that it affects. Yeah. So
that's one of the hardest things that I found, just being married and having kids in general. When you're single, your decisions kind of only affect yourself. Yeah. When you start a business, your decisions affect all your employees, your business, and et cetera. When you get married, your decisions affect your wife, your kids, and all of that stuff. It's a lot more responsibility. It's a lot more weight on your shoulders to not screw up. Sure. And
well, someone like me, like none of that matters, because what happens is the thought process is, why does it matter if I'm not going to get caught? That's the thought process. Sure. Unlike yourself. Sure. You're like, no, there's consequences. I'm like, there's only consequences if you get caught, Dakota. Yeah.
I guess that's true, and that's
how a whole different mindset.
And that's how people think. Yeah. And then it catches eventually up to you, right?
Yeah, it does. It could take 2 days, 2 hours, or 20 years, but it catches up eventually.
So how long did you have an issue with drugs and alcohol?
Oh man, teens to probably like 39. I'm 42 today.
So you've been sober for the last 2 years.
Yeah, May 20th or May 11th of 2020.
Congratulations, man.
Thanks. Yeah. I had hit a bottom.
Let's talk.
I hit bottom. I've probably hit bottom about 10 to 30 times, I'm sure. So.
Let's rewind the story real quick, because I want to hear about some of these bottoms and you being able to push you being able to push through. You know, those to get to where you are. Like, I want people to understand that, you know, starting a business, being an entrepreneur, getting to where you want to be, not only takes time, but the struggle is real. Yeah. And if you have other, I guess, vices outside of just running a business where you're going to have to deal with problems and problem solve on a regular basis, it takes time.
Apparently it's not challenging enough for me.
Media production wasn't challenging enough, so I had to make it harder on myself. Exactly. I just wanted to give myself an Achilles heel. So exactly. I can learn how to strengthen it.
That's really what I tell myself. I'm like, man, you know what? We've made it all these years doing all these things. Because March of this year will be our 12th year in business, believe it or not. But really, we're just now starting business. Yeah. You know?
So did you go straight from the company that you were at to opening up DesignTunnel then?
Yeah. Yep.
What was the motivation behind that?
Well, yeah, I think, you know, just like the lady that was making pies and then her friends told her she needed to go start a business. She did it. Right. And And then she realized that there's more to business and running it and doing taxes and billing than her friends even knew.
Sure. There's a lot.
Right. There's a lot
of paperwork.
And
there's a lot of...
That's like if anybody says they're going to start a business, I'm like, I'm going to ask you some questions. I just thought I could make more money. You know, I thought I could make more money, you know, charging like a $65 an hour graphic design fee. And you can, but you have to have those clients and projects.
Sure.
Who's going to go get that?
Yeah.
So I officed out of my house the first time. We may have just totally cut this show back to the beginning because the whole first of this show is boring.
We can edit it. It's fine.
I made like $15,000 my first year off staying out of the house. It probably didn't help that I was drinking all the time. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that definitely played a factor, but I also didn't understand what it was going to take.
Sure.
One of the best things I feel like a business can do if they're going to start a business, start a business on money you have. Don't go get a loan if you don't know what you're doing.
That's really good advice.
You know, because I would have went out of business a long time ago if I would have taken a loan out.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had businesses that I've financed personally and gone and gotten loans for.
Yeah.
It takes my businesses a lot longer to be profitable when I'm financing them just because that payment has to be made. You got to pay the piper.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So you started with your own money or just your own tenacity?
My wife was working full time. We had enough money going on and it was like, okay, yeah, we can do this.
You know, perpetuate this.
Yeah.
For you only making $15,000 your first year, she must have had a lot of faith in you.
Yeah.
It's like, are you sure this is going to work?
My poor wife. Yeah.
15 grand. So what did you guys do your second year?
I think I doubled it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, once I got, straightened out.
What did DesignTunnel look like at that time? Just a camera and a computer?
No. So I had so how I got there was at the place I was doing environmental health and safety training. The owner didn't want me to do, they call it, this is an old term, moonlighting, which is freelancing on the side. So creative director really don't want you moonlighting. And then, you need to make a decision if you want to stay here or not. So I was like, I'm out. I got this. Yeah. I did have a steady client that was like doing employee wellness programs. And that's why I bought my first camera because they wanted to do videos. And it was something that we were doing EH&S training. I got this. I learned how to use a camera, run good audio, self-taught all that. So I had a steady client. So that's how we got started.
Helps pay the bills and kind of gets you going. It feeds you a little bit and then gives you the motivation to look for more.
I was doing print design. I was doing websites. And then I realized that the way that I was doing websites wasn't probably the best in the best interest of our clients. So then I started like just handing those off to some other companies. Just
because they could do it better and give the client what they wanted faster?
I was just looking for a web developer that knew what they were doing. Like I knew everything that I shouldn't be doing. Like I can make your logo change out right here. But like if you want to take it to the next level, no, it needs to be built a better way. It needs to be like, if there's an actual media, like SEO plan involved, we need to build this from the ground up the right way.
Sure. How important do you think that is for young business owners to realize that if you are not good at a job, obviously you can learn to get good, but that's going to cost you a lot of time and it might cost you a lot of money. But being able to outsource work like that, how important do you feel like that's been for you as a business?
That's a two-part question because we have partnerships that we rely on as if they are our team and we function that way. However, if it's work that you want to do and like you think you want to move that way, something that I used to say up here all the time at our office, you're getting paid to learn today. So there's nothing better than getting paid to learn.
Yeah.
Right. So we got the project. Maybe you're not getting as big of a rate as you want on it right now.
Sure.
But you're getting paid to learn today.
You're learning how to do all the stuff that we need you to do. So at the start of DesignTunnel, did you just run that out of your house mainly?
Yeah, so I was there about a year and a half, and then me and one guy worked at Automatic. We went. He was quitting his job. He went the more web route, went web design oriented. And we went and we rented an office together. So I went in and got an office, and we split rent. I think the rent was like $400, and we were like, "Whoa, I don't know."
Was that here?
No.
So what was where did the struggle start to pop up in business?
Well, I mean, like even like with that, I would say even if that relationship, like, you know, Minko, they didn't teach us about business. Mom and dad didn't teach us about business. Everything's always about relationship or just doing what you said you were going to do.
Sure.
As simple as, let's say that we have a $400 rent, and you know, we have 2 rooms. One room is the video studio.
Sure.
The other one we're splitting. I learned business whenever we started splitting rent. So at first we split it down the middle, and then like say after 6 months, right? A person comes to me and goes, "Hey, you know what? You use more of the space. I think I should be paying less." And I'm like, all right. So I learned business then, and it just seemed like everything in business is that way, and you really need to start thinking about it that way.
Yeah.
If you don't, like, you're not going to be in business.
It's hard to distinguish between that though, because I know you're a giver. Like, you like to help people, and you like to do what you do. I'm a giver as well, but oftentimes if you don't put your foot down in business, people walk all over you. Yeah. And I'm sure you've learned a lot of hard lessons the hard way.
Oh yeah.
With experiencing that. And I definitely have as well.
Yeah.
So he comes and asks you for more rent.
Of course. Yeah. Whatever. I mean,
no problem.
Usually everybody's always right, and I'm usually wrong, you know? Yeah. And my wife would be like, "Quit playing your little fiddle," you know? I'm like, well, but that's sometimes how someone feels. So yeah. If you can't talk about that, then how are you going to start labeling?
Yeah, your feelings
to talk through that.
Your feelings about not wanting to pay rent are just as justified as the guy who thinks that you should pay more. Yeah, why shouldn't you have that argument, and why shouldn't you tell him to stick it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I mean, it could be this is really weird, but it could happen. I wouldn't put it past anybody. You have more square footage of the place, so we want you to pay more of the cable bill now. I mean, I just wouldn't put it past anybody.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't really ever have to.
Sure. Your lack of their business production and their gross revenue is not your problem. Yeah.
I'm not here 5 days a week. Can we take internet out of mine? You know what I mean? I just wouldn't put it past anybody. I think you have to be prepared for those conversations. And as I've gotten like older and done like a lot of like, you know, the partnership that didn't work out, that was paralyzing to me. A lot of it was my fault. Some of it probably wasn't. However, it's 3 people involved. There's 3 stories, right?
Yeah.
And that can be paralyzing. And just like a callus on your hand, the amount of drama, the amount of, you know, conversations that happen. Like there was a time that, like, I think you just build up a callus to it. You're like, yeah, I've dealt with that crap before. Oh yeah, whatever. Like, and not in a bad way. I think it's just in a way that you can move on and be productive. I feel like I've learned that a little bit. Like, I don't lose sleep over very much. And if I lose sleep over something, then we're going to talk about it very soon.
Do you feel like that's something you've built over time? Just that callous to making tougher decisions or making the correct decisions for your business?
Well, I mean, we've already kind of talked about it just a tad already, but being 100% clean and sober, and like knowing that I'm not going back out, and knowing that it's something that I have to work on a daily basis, has allowed me to focus on things that mean something, and allowed me, like, on a personal level to grow every day, and then like even on business grow every day. So like every day I wake up now, I'm not like, I'm present in every way that I can be. And like, there's nothing gonna, like, there's no like chemical dependency or anything like that, or like the thoughts that are gonna slow me down. Like, I'm not going to be obsessed about, hey, when am I gonna get my next drink? I wonder if we're gonna drink this. You know what I mean? Like, some people aren't gonna get that, but some of you guys are. But there's none of that to distract us anymore. So, and I don't want to like replace one addiction with another. So,
but I mean, you're absolutely right in that aspect. Like, my guys argue with me all the time saying like, drinking's not bad, or, drugs aren't bad, or, like a lot of people that I know will argue that. And
yeah,
it's like, listen, it's not that I care about what you do with your free time.
Yep.
It's the fact that you're occupying your mind with how can I get my next hit, or how can I get my next drink?
Yeah.
Whereas successful people, their minds are occupied thinking,
yeah,
how can I make money? Where's my next deal at? How can I grow? And I know, that shift from where you were to where you are, like you said, I feel like my business just started.
Yeah.
It sounds like quitting drugs and alcohol is the big pivoting moment of your career. And even though having that at 39,
42.
Well,
or I'm sorry.
39 is when you is when you stopped. Like,
I'm slow,
dude. I think I think it's an amazing story that you can. How long did you struggle with drugs and alcohol? From what age?
Teens to 39.
Wow. So literally almost your entire life.
Yeah.
Up until a couple of years ago. Did you have the belief that one day I'm not going to do this, or
no? I remember one conversation between my sister and my wife. Well, one conversation between my sister and my wife was like, they said something like, "Oh yeah, because like Jimmy, like hell will freeze over before he stops drinking,"
Sure.
And I was like, "Yeah, you're right." I mean, I used to, anyways, they were right. But then look at us today, I mean, like there's a lot of, like my family's like, they just can't believe it. Yeah. I can't believe it either.
So what changed?
Well, like I said, you have to hit a bottom, and usually getting there isn't the prettiest of things. And I think for a lot of us that are people like myself, we hit it more than once, Mm-hmm. I heard like your bottom's not really your bottom. The lowest you can get is death. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not dead, you haven't hit bottom yet. Mm-hmm. So you can still get back up.
Yeah.
But working through all of that and isn't the easiest. I was going to go to rehab or work a 12-step program. Mm-hmm. And, so the chicken shit that I am, I wasn't going to go to rehab. Mm-hmm. That sounds like it would be too much work. Right? That would be too much work to do. Sure. And I have to take off work. And so the easiest route would go to a DAA program or an AA program. So for the audience, an AA program is an Alcoholics Anonymous program, and the DAA is Drug Addicts Anonymous. Mm-hmm. And so I met with these guys on Zoom, and then I'm all crying. I might cry today on this show. So anytime I talk about that, I usually get pretty emotional.
I appreciate the vulnerability.
Yeah. So these guys, I was on a Zoom meeting, and like 4 of them called me back the next day. And so I kept coming back, and it was just the first group of people that like understood where I was coming from. Mm-hmm. That like, why can't you stop? Why can't you, like do those things? And they just got me.
They knew exactly what you were going through because they'd gone through the same thing.
They get it. And then like you even, some of these guys, I never did heroin. Mm-hmm. I never shot up. But these guys are saying, I'm a heroin addict, and I'm clean and sober for like 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, and they're happy, and they're saying that they can help me. And so, yeah.
It sounds like the community really made you want to, or it was the support you needed.
I believed them. Well, and also like at your bottom, you're not in the best state of mind.
You're alone.
No one understands you. And then you also have like, if anyone's like kind of going through this, or if they have someone in their life that's like, going through that hard time with drugs and alcohol, the person that's using or drinking, if they ever say they want help, that's only going to last for like, it could be 3 minutes, it could be 3 days or 3 months, but it's more likely going to be 3 minutes. Like they're going to have this idea that they need help. And then like, if they do, that's when you help them. Because if you don't, like they're just going to have to go back out, get beat up again, do it all over. It's just a vicious cycle.
Yeah. I know it's tough. There's I remember I watched this YouTube video a couple years back, but back in the Vietnam War, a lot of soldiers were doing heroin,
Okay.
in the jungle. That
sounds like a bad idea.
Well, that's just what the soldiers did. So opiates are super common in Southeast Asia and stuff like that. And so these soldiers would go to war, and there was a big concern back here in the United States. A lot of people knew that their husbands and boyfriends and, their young men were out in Vietnam. And I think it was up to like 90% of soldiers were using heroin on a regular basis. Wow. And their fear was when everybody got back to the U.S. that everybody would continue to be a heroin addict. And what happened was just the opposite. Members of the military came home. They surrounded themselves with their family and friends again and stuff like that. And just because of that change of environment, they were able to stop using heroin. Yeah. A couple years later, there's a study done with mice. They take a mouse and they put him in isolation, and they give him 2 water bottles, one laced with cocaine and the other one just regular water. And the mouse that's in isolation drank the cocaine water until he died. Okay. Whereas they took the same water and the same cocaine water and they put it into a different cage. And this time they made the cage as fun as they could. All of those little contraptions that mice run through, little, I don't know, Ferris wheels and stuff like that. And they added other mice in there as like a population or as a group of people. And this time the rats would still, or the mice would still, drink some cocaine water, but no one overdosed. Everybody drank regular water on a regular basis. And the conclusion of that study is oftentimes when people struggle with addiction, it's natural for other people to want to force you out of their life. And it's true. Like I had a sister that struggled with addiction for years before she died. And it wasn't like we ostracized her, but she almost ostracized herself. Yeah. And
because it comes with the territory.
It does. And the problem is what we're learning, or what the study concluded, is that when people are isolated, they're more subject to being addicted to the same drug because they feel alone and they want that high. But the answer to addiction is not isolation. The answer to addiction is not pointing the finger and saying, you're wrong, you're bad, stay away from me and my family. It's community. It's bringing people together. And the scary thing about today's world is that people are building, bigger houses and separating themselves from other people. People choose more floor space over human connection. People choose more technology over human connection. And addiction is rampant right now. And I think it's because so many people feel isolated. And so for those people, what is your advice? If somebody's listening to this, and damn it, if we could save one person, and somebody's struggling with addiction, what's your advice to them?
I would just look for an AA or an NA group or a DAA group and go to a meeting. Get some help. I mean, because you only have, like I said, like the 3 minutes or 3 days or something like that. It's not going to last very long. Yeah. I mean, it's probably like 24 hours or less. I shouldn't use the number 3. But you only have that little bit of time that you're going to be willing and ask for help. And if you don't, you're going to be off to the races again until you feel like you want to do that again. And getting there again isn't going to be, So not only seeking help, but finding it and and just doing it. And there's a lot of great rehabs. I mean, these rehabs and halfway homes and stuff like that you can get into are solid programs. I mean, they just are. It's just a whole different way of life. I mean, the first step of an AA program or a DAA program is, is my life unmanageable, right? Yeah, it is. It's all
can't keep it together.
Yep. And then, I mean, just because you can't keep, or maybe you are keeping it together, but you still know you got a problem, you still might need to go get some help. So out of my journey with that group, I got a sponsor. I would say get a sponsor too. You got to get a sponsor.
Just an accountability partner, somebody to push you and help you and check in with you. Right?
Yep. And your sponsor's there to push you through those 12 steps. They're not there to be your friend. I mean, they'll listen to you, trust me. But that's where I've learned the power of sponsorship. And so I worked at 12 steps, and with that, what comes out of that is more of a I'm more of a spiritual person today than I've ever been in my whole life. You know, my wife and I, we're not big into church and those kinds of things. But I grew up in church.
Yeah.
And now today, I mean, I'm praying on my knees before I come to work.
Sure.
Like, because that's what my sponsor said to do. And that's what those guys in the room were doing. They said, and I believe them based off of the things that they tell me.
Yeah.
And they said, that's what they did. Like, you don't have to believe in anything.
Yeah.
You just got to do it because it's the willingness that starts it.
Yeah. Reaching out for higher power beyond yourself is, I think it's about as humble as you can get.
Yeah.
And that's awesome that you were able to find that.
Yeah.
So why do you feel like you're more spiritual now than ever? Is just because you need the help to...
I pray every day, man. I mean, if you go from like 0 to this, like where I'm at today, I'm always chasing... I don't want to say chasing because I'm not chasing it. I would just say I'm living in where like this whole new world today every day, and I appreciate it. And I know that like every day that I live in it
is a blessing.
It just gets better.
Yeah, it
just gets better. Like I keep meeting new people that like, you know, if you surround yourself with no one, and you're not going to meet anybody, and life isn't going to get any better. And with my business, I was stuck, you know?
Sure.
And especially if you're in your own head and, you know, maybe you jacked up a partnership and you're stuck too. You're like triple stuck. And now I know I have resources. I have people to call. I have these tools that I've learned from this program. And it just seems like the more that I just keep doing what I'm doing, everything's just easier, you know? I'm not making it difficult anymore.
Yeah. You weren't self-sabotaging anymore.
Yeah, because I was great at it.
What I love about your story is just the constant battle to get through drug addiction, alcohol addiction, while you started your own business, and then being willing to change at such a late age in life. You know, I feel like if I was in your shoes, I'm 28 now, but if I was 28 and I'd been hooked on drugs and alcohol for the last 15 years, I'd kind of feel like this is going to be me forever, you know, and just kind of accept my fate of I'm going to be an alcoholic and a drug addict for the rest of my life and hide it as best as I can. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people are in that situation. That's
where I was at.
Yeah.
That's where I was at. I was labeling myself as this. I was labeling myself as this, and it wasn't good.
Yeah.
You know, I think something that's perceived by some is I'm going to call normal people.
Sure.
You normal people out there. Is the power of choice. Like it's a choice. Like it is a choice to drink or drug, but like what happens to that person is like eventually it's like their willpower and their choice is gone. It's like starting a diet, right? Or like, I don't know. That's probably the best I can kind of explain it. It's like their willpower is not there anymore. Like they just keep finding it in their hand, or like that's their only solution, or like one more time. It's going to be different this time. And I think it's the power of choice doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And it's hard for people to wrap their head around.
Yeah. It's also the power of persistence too. I can't tell you how many diets I've started in my life, and how many diets I've failed at, but then, you know, it really took me until this last year to say to myself, like, I'm not a chubby person by nature. Yeah. Like I had to change my identity first before I started to come to terms with like, dude, I like eating healthier stuff, and now I feel like $1 million, you know what I mean? But in the circumstance of you, change your entire life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like what happens, like you hear, like you said, a diet. A diet means that you're going to not be on it. Yeah, you're not going to be. So what happens like whenever you go, okay, I'm going to have a cheat day. Well, in the drug and alcohol world, what's a cheat day look like?
Getting blasted.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like when you go back out, it's that much, just the same as you ate your food.
Right.
Except for a person like me, I have to wake up every day and I have to work on that every day, which is fine. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm just deal. Well, I'm not trying to get anyone's pity. Sure. I'm just trying to say that in the form of a diet, you think about that way. Like, I'm never going to eat chicken again.
Or sugar. Let's just talk about sugar.
I'm never eating sugar again because it tears my family apart.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't enough. I want some more sugar today. Right?
Yeah.
So then you see what I'm trying to say. I just want to really push that point if I can, because that's what matters.
Dude, if you said, hey, Dakota, you're never going to eat sugar again in your entire life, because it's destroying your family, you have to weigh that option. It's like, my family more important, whatever. But there's some times that...
What if no one would know?
Just joking. Dude. But that's the thing is, it's like,
I'm just
there's a lot of issues, drugs and alcohol and everything. It's so accessible nowadays. It's...
Oh yeah, all these dispensaries. Dude. I can't even imagine. It's going to get worse.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion about cannabis is different than that, but it's tough to resist a lot of dopamine hits in today's society because so much of it is accessible. Yeah, I think we live in a society where, the devil is cheap dopamine. Yeah. That's the downfall of man in today's world. It's finding a way to get a cheap dopamine hit.
Well, I haven't felt as well as I do. I mean, I remember feeling like this, like when I was high school, like
I need to stop.
As in like, I played football and I lifted weights. Like I love doing that. I love a good physical workout and I still do today. But I'm just feeling good, like energetic. I don't need sleep. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that today. And it's just a whole different lifestyle. It's because I'm not putting like a bunch of just nasty stuff in my body. And I get up and I work out. Yeah. I do my morning meditations and stuff like that. My whole routine's totally different, right? But I don't think a lot of people, just the food that they eat out there right now is just dragging them down. They don't even realize it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's me recently. I'm down 25 pounds. Yeah. And like I said this morning, I put on a weight vest to go do, my workout. And it's 30 pounds. And I was like, dude, I just took this off of my body. I was walking around with an extra 25, 30 pounds for 2.5 years. Yeah. And that does some damage. It has to, you know. But at the same time, like cutting out a lot of processed sugar and cutting out these things, like I said, before I felt like my body was a Honda Civic. It could get me from A to B. It ran great.
Now you're Ferrari.
Decent vehicle. Now I feel like a Ferrari. Like I only need 5 hours of sleep at night, and my head comes bouncing off the pillow, and I'm ready to go attack the day and get after it. There is something to living a disciplined life. Yeah, there is something to saying no to outside influences and things that are thrown in your face to aspire to live something better.
Yeah. We had a client come through here the other day and he was like, we're making this stuff, blah, blah, blah. That way, like the car wreck you had, Jimmy, then you could just take this and you'd feel a little bit better about it. I'm like, I don't understand why people are trying to like feel better about something. Yeah. Work through how you feel. Like is what I've learned so much over this little journey that I'm on. Yeah. That it's like, no, you need to work through that. You don't need to take something for it. Yeah. Like it's not an option.
It's weird in today's world. My wife just got in a car wreck. Yeah. You know that. Yeah. She broke her back and they prescribed her, and we're talking 30, I don't remember what the dose, but they prescribed her OxyContin. Yeah. They gave her so much for her injury. They gave her some muscle relaxers and stuff like that. But day one, she takes, half an Oxy or whatever. And that did the job. And after about a week, she took an Oxy probably every day for about a week. And after about a week, she's like, I don't need this anymore. Mm-hmm. There's probably 25 pills still left over.
We got to make those sales.
Why do they give you so much? And,
I don't know.
And it's, it's sad, but it's the world we live in, where again, it's so accessible. So, let's talk about, since you've been off the bottle and since you've been sober, what major business plays have occurred or what things have you noticed that have changed drastically just in business? Like most people would argue that, well, if I want to make more money in business, I got to work harder, right? I got to grind harder. Yeah. Whereas what you're telling me is I worked on myself and I fixed the leaks in my dam in my personal life. Yeah. and that made me more lethal at work.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you said it.
Oh,
yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean that's it. Through sponsorship and working on myself, and then actually working the 12 steps, doing all 12 of them. I learned a lot, and then I was like, you know what? I think I'm ready for a business coach. And so I reached out, and then I got a business coach. And like, we really didn't have the money to do it at the time, but like, I felt like that was the next thing that I needed because I was still kind of stuck. Like, so.
How do you like that?
I like it a lot because, I mean, my business coach, Michael Morrison.
What's up, Michael? Shout out.
He's like, I want to say he's like my sponsor. He's my business coach. He's a therapist. He's he knows every part of my life basically. And because everything in your life affects your business. Yeah. If you're really want to get honest with yourself. And so I think that's what he can appreciate with me is the honesty of where I'm at, where I want to be. And I think where we want to be is still being figured out. But everything that where we want to be at today is way more attainable, and we're going to get there way faster than where we were. Like before it was, we can do all this work. We do good work. Like I knew we did good work. I know we could do all this stuff, but it's a whole different, I think people can feel the difference. Like talking to me, someone the other day was like, Jimmy, I feel like you've leveled up since I've talked to you last, like your business. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, I don't know. You just seem more like sound on everything that you're saying. And I was like, it's just because I'm clean and sober is what I'm thinking. I've already believed all this stuff that we can do. Like part of it is believing in what you can do. And so now we're just kind of starting to tell everybody about it because we're not sidetracked and making life hard.
Yeah. You're not focused on the dumb BS that.
No, I got to focus on, building relationships and the right kinds of relationships and making sure our staff is happy and giving raises and doing the things to create a healthy environment to grow our business.
It's the little things that count in business. Yeah. It's the small, minute decisions. Yeah. I feel like that make a successful business versus an unsuccessful business.
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy, if you had any advice to your former self or any advice to a young up-and-coming kid from Minko, Oklahoma, that aspired to own a business one day, and run a successful video production company that's growing and growing and growing, what advice would you give to young people?
Don't get caught up in making excuses. Excuses are just an easy way out. And don't hang around a bunch of people that make excuses.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Don't make excuses. Go take action and get it done.
No excuses.
Make a
Surround
plan.
yourself with better people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because like what has happened? Like let's say I may not. The lifestyle that I live today is attracting the exact same people. Like the exact same people that like. The whole lifestyle that we're living today, like everyone's great. Everyone wants to do things with their business. Yeah. It's a totally different, whatever you put out there, you'll attract. So you better be putting some good stuff out there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've made a big push recently in my life to just surround myself with the best people possible. And that's why we're doing the podcast.
That's why I'm here.
No, honestly, that's why I wanted to do a podcast. It was like, how can I surround myself with people who I think are amazing or superheroes or running these businesses, people that I aspire to be like, how can I get around them more? And it was like, dude, I can have them on a podcast, give them some social media content, try to add value to their life that way. And the hope is that I change as a person because I get to interview cool people all day.
Right.
And, that's a selfish desire, but at the same time, like what it's grown into is I want to get the message out there to everybody that, hey, life's tough, and life's going to knock you down if you let it. If you let excuses rule your life, you'll stay wherever you're at. If nothing changes, nothing changes.
Oh yeah, it's changing without you.
And then surrounding yourself with better people just puts you in better environments, different connections. don't stay in Vietnam. Go back to your family. Go back to people that love you and work on that.
Yeah.
I think that's.
Well, I would say if it's worth achieving, it's not going to be that easy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I've heard some like younger people recently go, yeah, it's not that easy, but I'm going to put the work in because I want it. And I was like, it made me feel like an old man, you know? But I was like, yeah, nothing easy is just like, you see all these videos like YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, make 10K,
everything.
I made 10K in a day playing stocks.
It doesn't happen. I mean, it might in some very rare circumstance, but that person probably didn't make the video. Like, you know, nothing as easy as it looks.
And nobody's as patient. What I love about your story is how patient you were with yourself, and just going from 15 grand to 30 grand a year to slowly, while battling your own demons.
Well, and I'll tell you, so today my wife works part-time. We have a family of 5. And so, you know, our company is the sole provider. That's a total flip-flop.
Yeah.
And we have a really big goal for revenue this year because we can make goals today. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, Jimmy. If you guys need any video production in the Oklahoma City area, Tulsa area, where do you guys go to?
Oklahoma.
If you're in the state of Oklahoma, you need
Texas, Kansas,
TV commercials, marketing,
we
anything
do stuff out
like
of
that.
State. Yeah.
Jimmy is your guy. He's fantastic.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being so vulnerable with us on the podcast. I appreciate your influence in my life. Thanks for being on the Bison Hour.
Yeah. Thank you.